K.T.E. Put it together and what do you have? A wrestling podcast unlike any other that you've ever seen. Hello. Thank you for joining us. I'm the T in the KTE. I'm joined by my K. Connor, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. I'm super excited to get this thing started. We've been talking about this for a long time, so it's about time we get this thing rolling.
A long time. And just for edification for the viewers, we started talking about this in October of 2023.
Yep.
We initially had a soft launch of January of 24. However, it just didn't work out. And I can say, I don't know about you, but I'm in a much better place than I was at that point.
Absolutely, man. There was some stuff going on outside that you know about that we just didn't have time to meet up and everything. And now that 2025 is here, I don't have much going on. Days off. We're gonna get this thing rolling.
It's awesome to hear, and it's awesome to just be doing it and recording it because we both love wrestling. Obviously, it's one of our passion projects. Yeah. So to be able to sit here and talk about it, to have an excuse to talk about it.
It's constantly a thing we talk about once a week just because it's like, look, what happened last week, what's going to happen this week, what's going to happen at Rumble, all the pay-per-views, which I can't wait to talk to you guys about. And we get to share our opinions on everything that's going on right now, especially since we're in the new era of Netflix and not USA that we've been in for 20 years. So I'm super pumped.
Yeah, I've definitely got some thoughts about the transition since it's week 2 and we're seeing some patterns, but as regards to who we are, I'm Tyler, this is Connor over here, and we've got some wrestling credentials of our own that we would like to share a little bit of our history in wrestling, just to show you that we're not just some Joes who started watching 3 weeks ago and decided, well, it's a new era, let's start a podcast. No, we've got some experience. So Connor, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about where you started in wrestling and why it makes it so special to you?
Yeah, so really my background started, I think, roughly like 2004-ish. We got the Eddie Guerrero before he passed, R.I.P. Eddie. You got Brock Lesnar, Chris Benoit again. Yeah, you got all the greats from the early 2000s, mid-2000s. So coming into the Ruthless Aggression era, I slowly started watching because my uncle, so, we just casually watched it. Then 2007, something just clicked, and I just was like, every week, every Monday, Friday, record it all the time. I'd watch all sorts of brands, like TNA and all those brands, so just 2007 on, man, it was a weekly thing, and I couldn't get enough of it, so it's the one thing I stuck with, so.
Now you've got a little age on me. You're a little bit my senior, so
just a little.
Yeah, just a little. Your first initial memories of wrestling, you'd say about 2004.
I'd probably say 2004, but my actual real memories would probably be after Rumble 2007 when Undertaker won Rumble, coming in at number 30. Man, that just holy shit. The Undertaker's not supposed to be in the Royal Rumble. He's supposed to be in the world title picture. He's a scary man, but 2007 on, man, it just week by week by week, I just kept up with it, and there'd be times I'd be like, I can't stay at a friend's house, get some Monday Night Raw, so I'd go stay at home, like, nope, Raw's on. So some of the great memories on Raw I've actually witnessed, and I love it. I love every single minute of it. I'm continuing to watch. I'm super excited to see the future of the brand going forward.
Oh, for sure. And I would say your earliest memories trump my earliest memories, because my first memories are in 2005, just because obviously I'm a little younger than you are, and so 2005 is really when I remember a lot of wrestling. I remember. The first thing I remember is Eddie Guerrero's death. That's the one thing that stuck with me. It was a big, impactful moment, and him being a Christian himself was just like, hey, that's someone like me. And and plus, it catapulted my favorite wrestler at the time, still one of my favorite wrestlers, and I know you know who that is, and you've got some gripes about his current position, but Rey Mysterio catapulted him into the main event scene, and he won the Rumble off of that and then won the world title. My first wrestling t-shirt was a Rey Mysterio WrestleMania 22 World Heavyweight title shirt. That was my first shirt.
The only issue I have is he brought his dang son into the freaking company, and that little rat mother effer is just one piece of crap I don't want around.
Well, which is why he gets booed every week.
Exactly, and I'm a part of it.
But yeah, it coincided with my first live event ever, and I went to the Great American Bash '06, which a very, to use the language, mid pay-per-view, but
Yeah.
it had some memorable moments. Taker was there. It was a Punjabi prison match, and
The first one out in history. That was the very first one, him and K.T.E, man. And the crazy thing is, K.T.E's been a part of all three. He only wrestled in 2 out of 3 of them, but he's been a part of all 3 of them in history.
right, yeah, because he
helped
gender,
he helped
yeah.
he helped hinder the gender keep the championship.
Shanti.
Shanti.
But yeah, so that was my first live event. I'll parlay that into asking you. Do you remember what your first live event
So
was?
my first live event was 2008. It was Monday Night Raw, my birthday, 2008. My aunt and Uncle Terry got me some tickets. My dad, me, my cousin Morgan, and my Uncle Terry all went. It was a great time. You had that was going into WrestleMania 24. You had the triple threat at Mania because Cena got screwed at No Way Out. So you have the triple threat. And William Regal said, "You know what? Every week for the next 3 weeks, you guys are going to be GM." I think Triple H was GM. It might have been Cena. I couldn't remember the exact thing. But then we ended up going. Actually found out a couple years later I was on that episode of Raw. I'll have to find that video again. But
yeah, you showed me, but it'd be good to share everyone
I will
else,
share it
yeah.
with everybody at some point. It's very, very, very faint, but you can see me and my cousins, and I'm doing the little Triple H pose right behind Triple H. But man, 2008, you had Hardy was the IC champ against Jericho, and I think it was just as Hardy was. I think he was going to feud. I don't remember if he actually wrestled at 24, but yeah, it was Hardy, Jericho, IC. They fought on Jericho's talk with Jericho on Raw, and that was the only pay-per-view. That was the only thing I've gone to wrestling wise. I need to go. I need to go.
I don't think I realized that. That's the only event you've ever gone to?
Yep.
Your first and your last?
Yep, that's the only one I've ever gone to.
Wow, if I had known that, I would have bought your ticket for certain events. Or
we'll figure. We've got time. There's going to be plenty of events in Indiana, so we'll definitely figure it out and playing better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't know that. Wow, okay, so you heard it here first for KTE, huh?
Yep.
Okay, well, so your first and your last, there's a reason why you cherish it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you got on TV. You did
and
all
I was
the
on
first.
TV. First one to be on TV and first episode I've ever gone to. So it was definitely memorable, and it was with my dad. Just fun time with dad and uncle and cousins. So it's just something fun to do. And they got me out of school the next day.
Wow, okay, yeah.
I think I may have had to go, but I slept all day.
Well, yeah, because Raw at that point, it started at 9 o'clock.
I think it was the 8. I think it was 8 to. I think it.
It wasn't 3 hours at that point, and Raw was normally 9 to 11.
That's right.
I'm fairly certain of that because I remember.
I thought it was 8 to 10, and then they moved it to 8 to 11.
No, it was 8 to 10, and then it was 9 to 11, and then they moved it an hour back.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that because I always got yelled at to go to bed at that time. But it was like, yeah, I'm going to bed.
Turn the TV down. You have it on mute. You have the closed caption.
What happened? I was like, Jericho just hit the code breaker.
Try to be super quiet with the Barons in the house.
Yeah.
I used to wrestle my pillow before bed. You know, you get the energy out. You're wrestling your pillow for the world championship.
Talk about favorite experiences. That's probably one of them.
100%. That right there was probably my favorite. Obviously, like watching it, there's some good memory ones, but obviously I've only gone to the one, so that for now is my greatest experience.
Would you say that experience has trumped anything that you've watched on TV?
I don't know. There's certain moments in the last 15, 20 years that I've watched that is just like, I can't go through every single Monday Night Raw or pay-per-view or all that, but there's so many great moments I've gotten to witness in the 20 years I've got to watch Cena become the greatest of all time. I've got to watch Randy Orton be the greatest heel of all time in 2009, being bald and, just a menace to society. Mm-hmm. But like, I've got to watch so many of these great memories, and then even going from 22 when Cody comes back, you've got all these great moments now. Put on great matches with Seth Rollins, even after tearing his pec off and having nothing but purple, and he still went out and wrestled. Dude, that's a scary image. But dude, I wouldn't change that for the world. Now, there are definitely some dark moments in history that there are definitely some matches that we shouldn't have had ended the way they did, but that's a discussion for another day. So, but just being a part of some of the great moments, watching it just is great too.
Because it can take a bad show and make it even better, or at least you can have fun out of a bad show.
Oh yeah,
When you're watching it on TV and something's bad.
Oh yeah, you just dog on it with your friends the next like, dude, did you watch Raw last night? Man, that was so bad. Or hey, did you watch SmackDown? That was so bad. Like, there's just so many moments that you can talk about.
And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the Rumble is here in Indianapolis, coming here within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I think a week from Saturday.
A week from Saturday.
Maybe.
I think it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Regardless, yeah. Elijah and I have been to a Rumble before. We went to the one in St. Louis, and it was not a great Rumble. It was the one where Rousey and Lesnar came in last minute and won.
Which, again, horrible booking decisions we'll discuss another time.
It wasn't a great show, but we got to see Edge. We got to see all those people wrestle. We got to see Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, which is honestly, hand to God, the only reason I bought a ticket.
Yeah, you would think with the way those two are built that the match, it would have been built up better, but
it wasn't.
It wasn't built up at all. It was like Brock was in his cowboy phase, and you had Cowboy Brock, and it was just, there were so many moments, and then it led to one of the worst moments we did not need at WrestleMania, Roman winning both championships that did not need to happen. Anyways.
But that same Rumble, we got to see Rollins versus Roman.
That's true. And he brought out the Shield stuff, which you can't beat that. Like, that's one of the greatest entrances, especially when you're going against a guy who you turn your back on.
Yep.
That's one of the greatest moments, coming out with the Shield attire and everything.
Yeah, so with that, a lot of memorable moments, but not entirely the greatest of shows. But it took an okay experience you could have seen on TV and made it really fun with the people that were there live.
Right, absolutely. I think with that show, man, you gotta wonder why Rousey and why Brock. There's always gonna be whys watching anything. It's like I don't know. I keep having Dom every week. That's, again, my hatred for Dom, but you guys will understand over time.
So I'll take that into a couple of questions. For one, you got wrestlers that you don't like and wrestlers that you do like. Over the years, maybe what's some of your favorite wrestlers and some of your least favorite wrestlers?
It's varied because I hated Roman at the beginning. 2015, he was getting put over all the time. It just was unnecessary. Vince was trying to push Roman to this level that he just was not going to get to. Nobody was backing him. And then Royal Rumble 15, you have The Rock come out. That totally went downhill real quick. Like, there was no point in all that. But then you get into this character that transitioned Roman to become one of the top names of all time, hands down, the Tribal Chief. I acknowledge the Tribal Chief. At first, the reign was, I'm not going to lie, the reign was a lot longer than it needed to be. But I think the fact that Cody just came back, won the Rumble, didn't need to win the championship. Had he won, I would have been okay with it. But there were so many other competitors that were there week to week to week to week that deserved to be champion.
True.
And they didn't give it to him. So I've gained to love Roman, especially now that he's the OTC again. Rollins, I hated Brock, but I love Cowboy Brock. Cowboy Brock is his own dude. He can just be himself. He's goofy, he's fun, and he demolishes. So I love Cowboy Brock. And then you have people you don't like. The Ronda Rouseys, the Charlotte Flairs, you just have so many characters out there that you just can't get behind. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, like the newer stars. Some of these people from TNA, or not TNA, the AEWs, and I just can't get behind them. My body just can't mentally get behind them. And then,
be careful, wrestling Twitter might come after you and say, "Oh, you're a WWE loyalist."
I will always be a WWE loyalist. That's fair, Tony Khan. Sorry about you, but here's another question that kind of resonates. The sets. why do we have to do the same set every single pay-per-view? I want the old ones back. I want the SmackDown Fist. I want all the old pay-per-views just to be cool again, nostalgic. But it's just one long entranceway for SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. It's like, oh.
You and Elijah could talk for hours about that because every time we watch wrestling, he says that exact same thing. He's always like, why do the stages look the same? Why do the rings look the same? Why are we not spending all this money that we're supposed to be getting on new and creative stages? It makes and this is not nostalgia, but when we were growing up in the Ruthless Aggression era, it makes that look so much better because each brand, each pay-per-view had its own separate identity.
Right.
There was more reason as to, I can't wait for Armageddon because it's got awesome mountain stages
Right.
and different platforms. I can't wait for Cyber Sunday because it's got a cool
big,
keyboard.
It's got a keyboard and a big computer. Like,
yeah. But now it's just like, why do you like Money in the Bank more than you do SummerSlam?
Right.
Because SummerSlam's got less green than Money in the Bank?
Yeah. Well, it's...
Which, on one hand, and not to cut you off, but on one hand, it makes the matches stand out in a sense, but it makes every pay-per-view almost feel like the same.
Right, and the one main problem I have with it is the Royal Rumble. Every year it's the same thing. When you had the Royal Rumble every year, you had the different setups. You knew who was coming out. The last 3 years, I couldn't tell you who's coming out at certain points. Like, I didn't know TNA Knockout Champion last year was going to be there. I had no idea who she was.
Jordan Grace, awesome.
I couldn't tell you who that was. One, I haven't watched TNA in about 15 years. My apologies, but it's just one of those things. You can't tell who's coming out, and it just ruins like if you're at an event, it ruins it. If you're at home, you know who's coming out. If you're at the event, you're kind of wondering who it is, unless you know the theme song word for word.
I can speak to that firsthand. When we were at the Rumble a couple years ago, I had that exact same problem because the set looks bad, but also because that was at the height of Vince McMahon's creative power when he kind of went mad. And a lot of the theme songs just weren't memorable at all.
Yeah.
WWE's getting better at that. They are. I'll give them credit. But at the same time, a music would play, especially in the women, because their songs for some reason are just ever so generic.
Yeah.
It was like, who is that? Who is that? I don't know. And then their name would pop up on the screen, and then you go, oh, okay, yeah.
So you don't get the nostalgia pop of who's coming out. Like Edge. We all know Edge's theme song. 2020, when he came back, we all knew who it was. Like, oh, hell yeah. We know exactly who's coming. we know exactly who's coming out at this time right now. So, just like I said, man, the Royal Rumble's the biggest one. And you brought up Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is so much more than Survivor Series is now, or so much more than even SummerSlam is a little bit. Why is that not one of the top 4 pay-per-views anymore? We've got the Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Mania. Why don't we add one of the 5 and make that the Money in the Bank? Because that's a big pay-per-view right there.
So what are you suggesting? Maybe a 2-night Money in the Bank show?
If you're going to do that, you make, obviously, both main events have to be the men and the women. I don't care who goes on last. Sure. I don't care who goes on Saturday, who goes on Sunday. But if you wanted to do Raw on Monday, but the men's Money in the Bank on Saturday, and SmackDown on Saturday, but then have the women on Sunday night, that's fine. Do both brands have their shows on Money in the Bank, but you have the men and the women Money in the Bank ladder matches on separate nights. You never have a World Championship match as the main event of Money in the Bank. It just doesn't work.
Now, I will say this, because you could have a World Championship match night 2, and the person who had Money in the Bank night 1, that
cash in.
Large.
I would be okay with that. But that also stems from the fact that, okay, if you're going to do that, you'd have to have the women's match on the first night too, because then you have that looming picture of...
I guess that's true.
So it's kind of one of those things, you got to make those both the main events. World Championship, if that's still on Raw, I don't know what's going on with the transfer portal or whatnot, but
we'll get to that.
So if you have World Heavyweight Champion on Saturday night, they don't get cashed in on until, I don't know, Survivor Series or something. But and we'll talk about Survivor Series later.
So, a couple more questions for both ourselves. One, was one brand over the other for you growing up? Well, even now, do you prefer one brand over the other as to maybe why that could be?
I think when I was younger, I aimed more towards Raw just because it was the beginning of the week. You know, you're at home Tuesday after school. You have it recorded. You skip through commercials, so you ain't gotta watch the commercials, and you just get to enjoy it. Like you get home from school, long day of school. You just get to enjoy a whole bunch of cool ass matches and all that. Um, and then you get Friday night. If you're at a buddy's house, you gotta figure out when to watch it on the weekend. Or you got to watch it Monday morning or Monday after you get home from school. Then you got to watch Raw the next night. It's like, so I gravitated more towards Raw, but I like SmackDown a lot because I like The Undertaker. I like Batista. I like Edge. Like you have all the heelish characters on SmackDown, but you have like John Cena, Orton, Triple H. You have them on Raw. So it's kind of 50-50 for me on which brands I gravitated more towards. But I think Raw was probably my go-to.
And has that changed at all going forward, even to today?
There for a minute, I was doing. I tried to stop doing Raw just because it was just like, man, like I can't keep up with it. So I would go to SmackDown. I would just watch SmackDown every week, no issues. Because I'd be home Friday night, watch SmackDown, no problem. Monday, I just couldn't get into it. Pick back up on there's been also fun fact, there's been plenty of times I've tried to stop watching wrestling because I just could not get involved into it, because he can attest to that. There were so many unmemorable years that I try to forget, but I think now I've gravitated more towards Raw because Netflix, like we brought up Netflix, obviously if for people who don't know, Netflix is on Raw.
Raw is on Netflix.
Raw is on Netflix. Strike that, reverse it. If 90% of America has Netflix. I've got it on my phone. I watch it at work, and then I go home and watch it. Or if I'm off, I watch it on TV. SmackDown's taking over USA, and obviously if people don't have cable, it's hard to watch SmackDown. So I tend to just follow through Twitter, and then if there's a time I'm home, I have it popped up on my phone, watch it online, then I watch SmackDown. But yeah, so right now I've gravitated more towards Raw, but I've kept up with SmackDown enough to know what's going on.
Okay. Okay. So I would say for me, it was probably a little opposite, because I didn't do things on weekends. My weekend was an excuse to stay home and play video games all the time.
That's the best part.
So I watched a lot more SmackDown because it was the weekend. I didn't have to go to bed. Raw, I had set bedtimes.
Yeah.
And even if I didn't, I was already tired within that frame.
Because you had school.
Yeah, I was exhausted. So SmackDown was my thing growing up. But once I started to get to be a teenager, it switched. I started, like yourself, doing more things on weekends with other people. And I had nothing to do on Monday.
Right.
So it was, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch Raw. I could stay up late enough to watch it.
Yep.
And so through, I'd say, 2014 onward, Raw has been my show.
That's fair. I would say roughly 2012-ish. The John Laurinaitis era was probably when I mainly gravitated back towards Raw, but even before then, it was still not, it was like, I would probably say it was like 70-30 SmackDown versus Raw for me. Then 2012, you had the John Laurinaitis ran both sides, and so you just watched the whole John Laurinaitis storyline come out, and so he obviously won Mania and became GM of both, and
so around when I started dedicatedly watching Raw, it was when Raw became the Super Show.
Yep.
And they mixed the brands together, and they stopped being a brand really in 2014. So to me, I was like, SmackDown's kind of just like main event in a way. It wasn't, but it
wasn't. But it also brought you back to like the Attitude Era.
Yeah, whereas you got to see the main stars twice.
Yeah, you got to see Triple H as WWF champion, as you can see here. You got to have this title on Raw and SmackDown, and it's like now you obviously they tried to do that with Roman. He was not going over to Raw, so it's like they're without a world champion. You got all these mid-card people and main event stars trying to run Raw without a championship.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they tried to do it, but then ultimately they had to bring something.
And Cody tried his damnedest.
And
Cody and Rollins, they did their best.
They definitely carried that for the couple years Roman had the title, but it was still just one of those decisions that we draw back to. It was unnecessary. Roman didn't need both. Now, I did hear a story or rumor that day one pay-per-view, Roman couldn't do it. Brock was supposed to win. So instead of getting added to the WWE title match, he was supposed to go against Roman and win. That was the rumor I've heard, but rumors, and you can't hear it until you see it, or you don't believe it till you see it, kind of thing. But
Connor is our resident rumor guy.
I'm a big rumor guy. I love looking at the rumors. That's all I see on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I look up rumors. I'm like, okay, who's gonna like Edge? Love Edge. I kind of got spoiled because I was like, oh, Edge's going to be in the Royal Rumble. I didn't know when he was going to be in there. I had an idea he was going to be there. Still cried because, Edge, but...
Yeah, this guy is so knee-deep into rumors that when he brings stuff up to me, I'm just like, I have to use my BS meter to figure out, okay, is there a grain of truth to this?
And the biggest BS meter was the Royal Rumble of 2023 or 2022 when the poster, they were all pointing this way, looking at this way, and there's lightning in there. I was like, oh, bam, Rock's coming back. But guess what the first match of the night was? The men's Royal Rumble. I was like, well, that was short-lived.
Yeah, your brother gives you grief over that stuff.
Yeah, he does. He always asks there's lightning, and no, there's not.
So what we've come to talk about today is a couple of show recaps, a lot of takes from your end. SmackDown's going to be your show going forward. It's going to be your baby, and Raw's going to be mine just because I said so.
That's fair. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just get to dog a lot of things that are going on SmackDown right now.
Which is fine. It'll be your segment. But that leads me into my last question on our credentials and our history. Why do you continue watch, and why maybe in those moments where you've doubted your love for it, why do you push past that?
There's some nights on like a Monday night, I'd just be sitting there and I would try not to watch it. But something in the back of my head was like, oh, I kind of know what's going on right now. So let's go ahead and peek at it. So I would just keep checking it. I just could not get myself to stop. There was a couple weeks there I wouldn't watch it at all. I would just check Twitter, be like, okay, that's fun. That's awesome. Just knowing I could be a kid again watching it, and knowing I'm not one of those crazy people that's like, oh, you still watch wrestling. It's like, yeah, I still watch wrestling because I'm freaking awesome, Like, I'm the Miz, I'm Connor, and I'm awesome. But, like, it's just the love of it I have. And it's just, there's different things that go on every week that keeps you excited. And as much as I dog, like, the NXT, the AEW, the DNAs, or the Ring of Honor, New Japan, I want to see those people. Penta's thing on Monday, we'll talk about, but it's just, there's so many new people that can come over, and yeah, I may give Jade a hard time. She hasn't done anything yet that's warrant me to be like, that's it. Like, she's the hottest star right now. I haven't warrant that. I never watched AEW. I tried to watch one episode, couldn't do it. I think I watched CM Punk when he came back on AEW. That was the only time I watched it.
Elijah's starting to get into ATW, so he's trying to pull me in.
Anyways, but yeah, man, it just keeps you on your toes each week. There's so many different things going on. Now obviously he's out of action right now, but my favorite's Bronson Reed. That dude's a monster. Like, the fact he's jumping from the top, doing the tsunami, breaking his ankles, like, oh my God. Like, there's just so many good characters right now. Like, I'll bring up SmackDown here in a second. Tiffany. She should have cashed in months ago, but there's something there with that reign right now that I'll go over. But just, man, there's new things every week that just keep you on your toes. And I'm just super excited for this new era of wrestling in 2025.
No, I really like what you said about it makes you feel like a kid again because and Vince was really good at this. I will give him credit for this. There wasn't a whole lot of continuity week to week, but you never knew what you were going to see on Raw.
I agree.
You never knew. It could be something so crazy or something so unwatchable.
Right. And we've talked about the whole Vince stuff, and as much as I disgrace what's going on outside of WWE and all that, the stuff that man did for that company cannot be taken advantage of. We wouldn't have a WWE if, as much shit as I give this man, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
If you don't have Hulk Hogan, you don't have a WWE.
Yeah.
Because at that time, who would have taken over?
Right.
There was nobody. Andre was 7 foot, 800 pounds. He couldn't move. You had the Macho Man and all that, but like, if it's not for Vince, man, we don't have WWE, and hats off to you, Vince, for giving us something that we enjoy and that us wrestling fans can enjoy each week, no matter who's in charge. I think Triple H is doing a great job. I hands down. There's a couple of questionable decisions there, but overall, I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, I would say I love that it makes you feel like a kid again because that was one of the first bonding experiences that I ever had with my dad was through wrestling. The first thing that I really remember, I mean, far be it from this being a good memory, but the Kiss My Ass Club.
Oh, man.
I have a lot of fun memories with that, and I was just the right age where I found the new DX stuff funny.
Dude,
but looking back on it, it wasn't good, very good. But I was a kid, so it was like
you thought it was the greatest thing ever. It's like getting candy every week.
Yeah.
Oh, cool candy.
Wow, Vince likes cock.
Family Guy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yeah, that's how it was with DX every week. Ooh, piece of candy. And to kind of comment on some of my favorite wrestling experiences, one that I really love and I cherish to this day, it was the only time we ever got to do this. And in fact, it was a little under a month before my dad passed away. Me, Ryan, my brother, and myself, all three of us went to a live event at my dad's college, Indiana State. Yeah, the Holman Center, and it was a SmackDown live show. And it was the only time all three of us ever got to go to a wrestling event. It was a month before he died.
That's awesome. That's a cherishable moment forever, man. And I know we'd have plenty of them with your dad here.
Yeah.
I would have loved to watch Mania with your dad. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine what that man would have said.
Oh my gosh.
Because knowing the little I did of your dad, that was one thing he would have been like, "What the?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And shoot, you even had my dad standing at the stairs watching, and we're chit chatting. He's like, he'd be like, "Oh, that wasn't like a cool movie." He'd chit chat with us about it while we're watching. It's just one of those cherishable moments, And
my dad had that kind of moment with his brother and father all the time. He'd watch wrestling, and they'd be like, "Oh, what the hell is this crap?" And then they'd stick around for 30 minutes and go, "Oh man, that's fake." Or
well, like I said,
but they get sucked into it.
Right, we had Mania at my house a couple years ago. My dad was downstairs standing there at the stairs, and he's sitting there watching chit chat, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." And I'm like, "Oh hey, Trish Stratus, like I remember them." He'd bring up the old memories and stuff. So my dad kind of chit chat. Hey.
Yeah, Trish Stratus is February, but
hey, we'll see Trish in February.
Yeah,
not on the show, I promise.
Well,
also, I am not sponsored by Monster, so please don't sue us.
So I took my label off.
I can't take the label off of a kid.
Well,
I wasn't thinking at the moment, okay?
As far as the question as like why I continue to watch, and you talked about trying to quit off and on. I only ever tried once. I did. It got bad. It got really bad, but I only ever tried once, and it was in 2022. And it was less so about wrestling. It was more so about me at the time. Took my longest break from wrestling ever, and it was 3 weeks.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
3 whole weeks. What'd you do in those 3 weeks, Todd? What took your interest? Video games?
Well, yeah. Trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 weeks, and the person, and I think I've mentioned this a little bit to you, but the person that pulled me out of it was Cody. It was right before Mania that I said, okay, if I can take a 3-week break right before the biggest wrestling show of the year, does it mean that I'll miss it?
I think you told me about all this.
But when his first match back, his first promo back, talking about his dad and all the memories that he's got with it, it sucked me right back in. And I said, this is why I watch wrestling. And then it gave me new life. It gave me new breath. And I've been a fan of his, and I've been glued to the TV set ever since.
Yeah, I mean, Cody coming back, I think, helped a lot with WWE in general. Cody coming back was very, very questionable among WWE and Seth and some of the people in WWE because of what he did in AEW, smashing Triple H's chair with a sledgehammer, and then obviously, like, you have those moments where he went out, did his own thing, became one of the greatest stars outside of WWE, so you knew he was going to bring in big bucks. Him coming back, yes, it was a very questionable decision by Vince McMahon at the time, but it's been one of the best payoffs since Vince has been gone, that Cody's been back. So I definitely like your stance on why you brought yourself back.
Yeah, and then like 2 months later, he had that Hell in a Cell match with Rollins, and oh yeah, but yeah, dude, that's one of my favorite matches. Period. It's just the intensity, the love. At that moment in time, I said, "This guy, this is the guy to beat Roman."
Yep,
I knew it right then and there.
I had that moment the first match between him and Roman.
Yeah,
Because WrestleMania 38, Cody comes back. You kind of had a feeling he was going to win Rumble because he came back from the torn pec. It's kind of like the Cena situation in 2008. He's the hottest thing going on. Cena never lost the title. He just had to relinquish it because he tore his pec. Cody wrestling on that torn pec, coming back, winning the Rumble, that was the time to give him the title. Because Roman could have done so much with the Bloodline storyline, which we'll get into over time during the podcast. Because there's a lot to discuss about the Bloodline.
I guess speaking of which, though, we'll go into your SmackDown podcast review because there's a lot to talk about with Cody and the Bloodline and everything going on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the table over to you. You tell us what you want to talk about in regards to SmackDown and the storylines going over there.
So my thoughts on SmackDown at the moment, I'm giving them a 6 out of 10, and I'll go down a list of why. One, as much as I dislike Nia Jax, her run wasn't horrible. She was a good women's champion. I haven't seen a good women's champion in years, and it's hard for me to say. Hear me out. You'll understand here in a second.
Okay.
It's so hard to be a champion in WWE when your roster's so thin. And now that they've brought the Intercontinental or the United States Championship for the women, it got even slimmer. Because you have the mid-card women. You do. The women tag titles, throw them out the window. Get rid of them 100%. Can't stand them, don't need them. You've got your Chelsea Green. I would consider her a small main eventer, but she's definitely right where she belongs. Mi Chin's right where she belongs. Who do you have in the main event of women other than Bayley and Tiffany and Nia? You can't think of anything right now.
We have Belair and you have Naomi, which
They're the tag champs, though. So if you throw those belts out of the way, okay, I bring them into it. But since they're a team, you got to figure out how these women are going to do the tag team thing. We don't have enough women on the roster to do tag team, mid-card, and a world championship. We just don't.
Well, to me, and I won't take too much of your time, but to me it feels like the early 2010s WWE where they only ever focused on one tag team at a time and would just throw other random tag teams at them until they decided, yeah, we're going to push this tag team instead. So that tag team would get all the airtime, and sometimes they would just do singles matches.
Okay, why don't we move those titles down to NXT? Why don't we take... They already had NXT women tag titles.
Now, see, I would agree with that because
Why don't we move those tag titles to Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? Those champions have to go to 3 shows.
I would agree with that, which is how they used to have it. It's technically how they still have it because NXT's women's division. I know you don't watch NXT,
But they are stacked.
oh my gosh,
I see they're
bar none the best women's division in wrestling.
They main event more than the women do on the main roster, and that's a problem because we're in a new generation where women equality is like women wrestling. It's far none compared to the men right now. They are just outblowing. Sometimes they even outdo the men. Like there's some pay-per-views I'm watching. I'm like, that could be a main event. You could have that as the main event. We've had one main event in history in WrestleMania. That was a triple threat match. Becky, Charlotte, and Rousey, the women's match.
Oh, so you're not counting the night 1 main events?
No, I'm counting that one first. I'm only counting that one at the moment. Okay. I mean, yeah, those count, but they're like you just have so many matches that could be main event worthy, and they just get overtaken. So that's the one downside about the women's division is they don't get enough time or credit like the men's do, because we're in a new age to where the women are doing just as well as the men are. Like, I don't like her, Rhea Ripley. She's stronger than half the men roster right now. That's a main event worthy match. Anything she does is main event worthy on a pay-per-view. Or, I'm sorry, premium live event. Which I'm still getting used to.
So you think, and I don't want to step on your toes, but you think Tiffany could be that?
I think Tiffany could do that.
Okay, because you're saying Nia got close.
Nia was close, but Tiffany is one of the hottest rising stars in the WWE right now. She's only 25. She won the NXT Women's Championship. She won the Money in the Bank, and she's won the Women's World Championship in such a short time of being there. She's that good. Now,
and I will say now to this, because I think we're going to have our first disagreement here, because little behind the scenes, this guy does not like Braun Breaker.
No, not at all.
I think I don't have the same level of disdain that you do for Breaker, but I don't get Tiffany. So tell me where you're at in regards to this feeling that you have.
I think you have the preppy blonde who's kind of ditzy, but it kind of reminds you of a Kelly Kelly.
Okay.
She's ditzy, but she's athletic. Tiffany is strong. She's smart. She's got it. I think she... Don't hold me to this. She could be better than Charlotte for all time.
Okay.
And not because Charlotte has 12 title reigns, which are not deserved. They're given because of her freaking father. My disdain for Ric Flair. You'll get to that in a second. But I think Tiffany could be more than Charlotte. Because Tiffany's made a name for herself without anything. Charlotte didn't have to make a name for herself because of who her last name is.
Here you go.
Exactly. Hey, here you go. Championship. Oh, another championship. Oh, another championship. Tiffany won't get that. She'll get it on her own. And I think she has it. Give her the right feud with Becky or Alexa. You have a main event superstar right there. It's going to take her a minute. I don't think she's there right now. Give her a couple months. I think Tiffany takes over the women's division. That's the future right there. And then you have the upcoming NXT women. Whenever they come up, you have them also. So the NXT women are starting to take over the main roster women. Becky, Charlotte, Alexa. Now when Alexa comes back, all bets are off. That's your women's champion right there. 100%. Or AJ?
Nah. I don't know if she'll do it. She's got too much going on.
She ain't got nothing going on.
She owns a business. She writes a book.
That's fine. Seth Rollins called him out. She ain't doing anything. I like CM Punk, but they don't have kids. She could be back wrestling. Although, to be fair, certain people can only wrestle to a certain extent, and then it just takes too much on them. So So yeah, you can't dog on him too much, but I would love to see AJ back. She was one of my all-time favorite women. Her storyline was great, but you put her up against Tiffany or Becky or Charlotte or Alexa, you have some money there. But yeah, Tiffany, man, I think she's got it. I think she does.
I can tell, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I can tell. I can tell that she's still a little rough around the edges.
I've noticed that, and I'm gonna bring up. Everybody was so excited for Penta's debut on Monday. Obviously, you'll talk about that here in a second. I didn't get the hype, so we'll discuss that. But like, Tiffany definitely has some work that she needs to do. That's no question. There's always work that needs to be done because you have to be so precise when you're doing something. One little move that you don't hit right, it's botched. So, but yeah, give her a little bit of time to work around the edges, and I think she'll be okay.
I also think they need to fit out her character because on SmackDown she came out and she cut a heel promo despite the fact that the crowd cheered her. And she's like, "I'm better than all your favorites,"
And they're like,
and it just came out as tone deaf.
Yeah, the fans were cheering for her instead of booing her, which that's what they wanted. But make her a face then.
Yeah.
Like turn her face. Like that's what she did. Nia was the heel. She had the briefcase, smack the crap out of Nia. There you go. Like
we're in an era where we can have gray lines where she can be an edgy baby face.
Right. Yeah. She can be a little like flaunty baby face that we need. So I don't think there's much of that. There's just not enough of that baby face who's the edgy baby face. I guess if you're going to talk about Cody, maybe because of what he's doing with his storyline with KO. Because as we saw on SmackDown last week, he threw himself on Kevin Owens right into those tables. But like, then going like you brought up earlier, my bloodline and everything going on SmackDown. There's too much. There's just a lot, and that's why I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 so far. I gotta get back into SmackDown and rewatching. But just from what I've seen, there's just a lot going on with that. Like, one question I have to ask is the brand split over, or what's going on with the brand split? Are we sticking to Raw versus SmackDown? Are we doing what's going on? There's too much going on between the entire company for me to be like SmackDown's a 10 out of 10. They're just hands down. I just can't do that. There's just way too much going on. We have Sammy from Raw coming over. We have Jimmy J coming over. We have Drew coming over. It's like, what is going on? We got to get this thing figured out. Like, we need to do this transfer portal thing, get it over with. After Mania, be done with it. There's your roster. There we go.
I think we can talk about this now because I've got that mentioned in my notes about the transfer portal. It's just, so we can talk a little bit about this now. It's silly because they've been going on about this for a little over a month now, and as far as I know, we've only gotten 2 exchanges, and it's both on SmackDown's end. Strowman, and on Monday, which spoiler for Raw, the White Six are now moved over to SmackDown. So as far as I know, I don't even think Penta is a part of the transfer portal because he was not on any brand, period.
Yeah, the transfer portal.
It feels like you remember in 2019 they had like the wild card invitational crap. It feels exactly like it's just an excuse for other wrestlers to show up on other shows because a vague transfer portal exists.
Yeah, and why are we going college route? Why are we doing the transfer portal? There's no need for it. If you want to just do a trade, just go ahead and announce it on Twitter. Hey, there's been a trade between Raw and SmackDown. Xavier Woods is going to NXT because we want him to, and just make some sort of excuse on Twitter.
Or like the NFL does and say, hey, the White Six has been moved to SmackDown, trade package to be announced later.
Right. Like, do something like that. But this transfer portal thing is the stupidest and silliest thing I've seen in such a long time. It just makes no sense.
Well, and it's so funny because on Monday, Pat 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 came out and was confused by the transfer portal because he had said, "Oh, Nia Jax is now on Raw at the moment," and that wasn't the case. Cole had to correct him later on and say,
Right.
"Hey, no, she's just talking about coming on Raw," and it's like you're muddying the waters. And yeah, we'll get into that segment on Raw. But, the transfer portal window is it's just BS.
Yeah, I just don't see a point for it. I've never understood that with WWE is we are one universe. You throw so many different curveballs at us in one time. Our minds are like, hold up, we have this storyline going on, Cody and KO. But you also have KO going after Sammy and Jimmy. You also have Drew McIntyre involved. It's like, what are we doing? Like, one, we didn't really need the. Okay, I'm going back to Survivor Series. War Games needs to get cut. Point blank, period. I'm over War Games. They need to stop announcing it every year. If you want to do one match a year, fine. Don't make it the whole pay per view. I want traditional Survivor Series. I want 5-on-5. There you go. Or just make it nothing, no traditional. Just make it all singles matches, but all titles. I don't know. Make it Night of Champions again. I don't know. But there's so much going on with the transfer portal that you can't figure out what storyline's what. And the women's is probably the only ones you can because Tiffany's got Bailey. Now you've got Chelsea Green versus Mi Chin going on, which I like Chelsea. I also like Lear or Valkyrie, whoever just
Lyra.
won. Yeah, Lyra. Where's Natty at? Where's Natalia at? Why is she not a women's champion right now? I get she's getting older. If anybody's going to be an inaugural anything, that woman right there deserves to be that. She's done a lot for for the company. Her family's done a lot for the company. Why is she not the inaugural U.S. champion or inaugural IC champion? I get we need to promote these younger stars. I'm not disagreeing with that by any means.
But you do that with her winning the title and someone else beating her.
Have her pull a John Cena U.S. Open challenge or IC challenge every week. You want some, come get some kind of thing. But we're missing that leadership for the women that we haven't had in so long. Why is she not out there? Why is she not representing the mid card championships? Or I don't know, why is she not doing the main event stuff? Why do we need a Rhea Ripley World Championship reign again? Why did Liv lose? There was no point in that. Liv was having a good run. You could have had Liv go over. Rhea could have done the transfer portal and said, hey, guess what, Tiffany? I'm here. There you go. Obviously, Netflix wants their stars. USA wants their stars. I get that.
But that's why you're only able to give SmackDown a 6 out of 10 because the waters are so muddy. And I would even agree with that. Even on your own show, Cody Rhodes is back and forth with Kevin Owens, which is an impactful, meaningful storyline.
Yep.
Yet he's muddling in other people's businesses everywhere else on the show. And it's
Yeah.
like, Cody, are we taking this storyline seriously or not? It's the first real storyline you've had all your championship run.
Since AJ Styles.
Since Styles.
And I hope AJ comes back. I love AJ Styles. He's been one of my favorite superstars even when he was in TNA. He's been one of my favorite superstars for 20 years since I watched TNA back in the day. When he came out in Rumble 2016, it was number 3. I was like, oh, that's unexpected. Like I had no idea. This was the time I didn't really follow rumors like he was telling me, but or like he called me out on. But no, I did. I am a rumored guy, so you guys will hear a lot of rumors from me. But dude, AJ's storyline was probably the best thing Cody's done because then it's like, oh, yay, Roman's back. Guess what we're going to do? Tag team match, him and Cody versus Solo and whoever.
You sound like KO.
Yeah,
you sound as bitter as Kevin.
I'm a huge fan of KO. I wish he was champion right now. He deserves another championship reign. He got screwed against Goldberg. He got screwed at WrestleMania against Jericho. Like, their match should have been a main event, not Roman versus The Undertaker. Because as much as I love The Undertaker, he did not need to be in a main event against Roman Reigns.
No, they thought it was his last
And
Mania.
I get that, but you didn't need it. You could have had him lose to Roman, but earlier in the night. You didn't need a main event. But again, going back to Goldberg, you didn't have to have Kevin Owens lose that championship to Goldberg. There was just no point in it. Just because Goldberg.
But him and Balor both, even despite the fact that there's two separate world titles, there's two separate brands, and we can have people like him being built up.
Yep.
Him and Owens are still stuck in this like upper main event level, but not having anything done.
Well,
like they're too good to be considered mid-card champions.
And the problem with Balor is he got hurt. Had he not gotten hurt, I think we would have gotten a solid Balor championship run. But at the same time, you could have had him win at the Royal Rumble against Brock. You could have had him beat Brock. Because I understand Brock's Brock Lesnar. He's hands down one of the most dominant men we've ever seen in the company. But Brock didn't need to be champion all this time. Like, there's so many times he didn't need to be champion. You could have Balor be the underdog and beat him. Or you could have had him do the Demon Balor and beaten Brock. Be like, I never lost that championship, so I'm going to win it back. You should have had that. That's one of the many decisions I don't agree with. But
So I guess as far as SmackDown goes, in its current state, is there anything that you're hoping that they're going towards, or any gripes that you still have with the show as it stands?
as much as I like Cody, and you're gonna probably disagree with this statement, I think he needs to lose the title. Point blank period. I think Kevin Owens is doing such a good job as a heel right now. He needs to be champion. And if you want him to do it, use the Winged Eagle title, because it's a beautiful championship. It's the nostalgic championship. But I think what needs to happen is at the Rumble, because I think they're going to the ladder match. I think if you really want to shake things up for SmackDown, Royal Rumble, Cody's going up, lights go out, there's a ladder next to him, you have Drew McIntyre beat the crap out of Cody Rhodes. Kevin Owens goes and wins. He's the true champion. He should have won at Saturday Night's main event, but Cody goes on and faces Drew at Mania. Kevin Owens wins. He's cheering. He comes out on SmackDown, says, I'm the champion. As much as I would disagree with this decision, he can have his old buddy come out and be like, Kevin, you beaten my butt so many times. I'm coming after you for that championship. Kevin and Sami, round 27 at WrestleMania for the WWE title.
Okay.
That's kind of how I would book it, because you have Drew going after everybody. He hasn't gone after Cody yet.
They've had a few interactions on Raw, but maybe not
Interactions, but they haven't had any. Well, they've had interaction, yes, but you haven't had Drew beat the crap out of him yet.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And Drew's beating the crap out of everybody that's tagged with Roman.
Right, yeah, within this span of time, yeah.
So there's my prediction that I hope happens at Rumble, because I love Cody. Glad he's back. He's brought so much joy to the WWE since he's been back. I think we need a new champ. His championship reign was not what I thought. He lost the momentum after he lost at 39. Because he came back, he should have won at Mania that year. Had the championship up until 40, and then I don't know what they could have done. But you kept Roman as champion for an extra year. I think Cody's reign's done, in my opinion. They're kind of trying to pull the John Cena 2007 reign, where he was champ for 200 and some days. He had feuds with Orton and HBK and the Great Khali and Umaga, but I think Cody needs to drop the title at Rumble. I think that'll spice up SmackDown. That'll probably move me up to about a 7. There's still a lot of things going on they need to clean up, but I think overall right now, like I said earlier, SmackDown is probably about a 6 out of 10.
So I don't think Cody can move on until he's had an interaction with Orton. I don't know whether that looks like him losing the title to Owens and then they get a three-way involved. I don't think that he moves on without interacting with Orton in some way.
And I'm not disagreeing with that because that's probably what the route they're going to do. But I think what's going to happen, I don't know how Orton's going to do this, but he's going to RKO Cody. They're going to set up, it could be at the Elimination Chamber. Cody could defend, win. Orton slides in, hits him with an RKO. There's your match at Mania. But you've also got the rumors that are going around. Cena's going to be going against Cody. So you just don't know with what's going on. Obviously, with me being a rumors guy, I look at it, I kind of analyze it, but I'm like, what's more logical here?
Personally, and I hate to say this because you want Cena to shine on a big stage, but that's a big time money matchup is Rhodes versus Cena. But honestly, I'm first and foremost, I love the moments, but I'm a story guy.
Mm-hmm.
If the story's there, it'll place it way over a one and done big time matchup. And I would rather have Orton versus Rhodes at Mania than Cena versus.
I would agree with that
Rhodes.
Because I'd rather have Cena go against Gunther than the rumors of Logan Paul going after that championship at WrestleMania.
Oh, is that really a rumor? Oh,
yep.
no.
Yep. So
Raw's
spoiler
first
alert.
newest superstar.
Yeah.
Logan
so
Paul.
We're getting him another championship match for no reason. But anyways, so again, going back to SmackDown, man, that's where I'm sitting at is a 6 out of 10. I can't get myself to go over that 6 or that I can't go any more 6. I may go a 6.5. I can't get myself past that mark just because there's so much going on that we just don't know what's going on. Like there's just so many storylines going on. I can't keep my head wrapped around it. But
now I will say my last comment for SmackDown is, you guys have a great roster. You do. You've got the two top stars in the company right now in Rhodes and Roman.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a great main event scene in challengers in Orton and in Owens at that point. And if you include Solo and heck LA Knight from time to time, you've got a great roster. So you're not shy on star talent.
On talent.
Yeah. And even that extends to the tag division. Your tag division, DIY, and the Machine Guns. Oh.
Yeah, dude, watching them in SmackDown is so weird
It's
compared
so surreal,
to watching
yeah.
on TNA for so many years. It's like, what?
Alex Shelley was TNA World Champion last year.
And then Chris Sabin, man, he's always been that one guy. He was always a wild card, even as just as a solo competitor, just as the X Division champ, and when he pulled off the upset against Bully Ray on TNA, and it's just. Yeah, I'll just see it. Like I said, man, seeing some of these TNA guys over on Raw or SmackDown, you're like, that's odd, but I like it, you know? You just get excited about it.
So if you guys could, what you're saying is if the storylines and the direction could be a little more clear, SmackDown would be a better show.
If Nick Aldis could get off his hind end and go and get everything under control, and then we abolish the transfer portal. We abolish the trades. We keep the rosters the way they are. Do one more draft every year. There's your rosters. Clean up the storylines. Fix a couple of the issues you have going on within your commentator group, because I'm not a fan of Wade and Joe Tessitore on SmackDown. Nope. Hear me out. No. Hear me out. I love Michael Cole. He's the greatest commentator I've ever seen in my entire life. He will be in the Hall of Fame next year, probably. I don't know when they'll do it. WWE, please do it soon, because I love Michael Cole. But you gotta give Corey Graves back on the main roster. I'm not a fan of Wade. I like Wade as a superstar. I've loved Wade Barrett as a superstar. Nexus should have beat Cena. Will forever be the biggest disappointment in WWE history. But I can't get behind him as a commentator. I'd much rather enjoy Corey being the bully type. I don't know, Byron Saxton. Bullying Byron a little bit, but...
No, you're a big rumors guy. it was initially supposed to be Joe, Wade, and Corey on SmackDown, but for some reason Corey got moved down to NXT, and there's been a whole like work shoot thing with him on NXT and this guy.
I literally saw the tweet yesterday. I was at home watching Raw. I got on Twitter and saw Corey's tweet. Somebody tweeted back to him. Literally the next tweet down was Corey's tweet. What I suspect, we may get a Corey Graves run as a superstar, but I've never seen him wrestle, so I don't know what he's like as a superstar. But Corey is one of my favorite commentators just because he doesn't put up with the crap. He's on it. He just does not care. And then I like Pat McAfee. I do. He's a pay-per-view commentator.
I would agree with that.
He's a Royal Rumble commentator. He's a WrestleMania commentator. He's not a weekly commentator. He's just not. He does too much outside of WWE to be focused on it each week. Now, was it funny he called Dom a little bitch the other night last week? I love that because, I hate Dom. But, no offense, Dom. But I just, Corey, man. Corey and Cole have that connection that, yeah, Cole's goofier with McAfee, but him and Corey, man, they clicked. So just seeing him get demoted to where he's at is like it's unwarranted. It was not needed.
And it's unfortunate for him because I think he just got booted out because Michael and Pat are obviously like butt buddies.
Yeah.
So they've got to be on the show together. They have to. Because he's like, "Oh, Pat, I just yeeted." Oh. And Pat's like, "Oh."
Please don't hate us. We're just fans who love the show and the product, but
and he got booted on SmackDown because it was less about his ability and more so about Joe, because Joe's still new. I love Joe. He brings an air of professionalism to the job that I don't think has been there, and you may disagree, but he brings a certain presence, and when you have a fairly new commentator, you gotta have the color commentator to go with him, because little inside baseball for you. I used to do sports broadcasting myself, and the connection that you have with your co-host is second to none. You build a chemistry, and when that gets replaced and removed, it's so much harder to present a polished product. So I think it was more so about Joe than it ever was about Corey.
Joe reminds me of JR.
Yeah?
He doesn't have that enthusiastic, because JR was like, "Oh my God," and Joe's like, "Oh my God." It's like he wasn't like Michael Cole. If you watch the videos of Michael Cole doing commentating, it's hilarious. Him and Pat are sitting there, and they're always talking smack to each other, and Michael Cole's just having the greatest time. You watch Joe, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is going on. Oh my God, Kevin Owens just got driven through the table." And it's like, there's no enthusiasm with that guy.
True, he presents it as if he's a professional in like a business.
Right,
sense, yeah.
And watching him do NFL or college football, I love watching Joe do college football. He's one of my favorites. I don't like Gus Johnson. Joe should be the new guy on Fox on Saturdays. Fox, maybe put him on there. Get rid of Gus. But Joe he doesn't have the WWE energy, I think. And that's one of the downsides about it is he's a big name. He just doesn't have the feet. He doesn't fit. And I'm not trying to say that in a bad way. Maybe you're right. Maybe since he's new, he's got to work his way through. But I can't get myself to just like Joe. I just can't.
And I'm not typically a three-man booth, but maybe you're right in the way that having Corey on SmackDown could add that extra flavor, because having three people on a set is just hard to get.
It's a lot, but if you have Joe doing his thing, and then you have Wade and Corey kind of bickering back and forth, I'd be okay with that, because then it brings the commentating better. You have Wade Barrett calling 90% of the matches. I haven't watched SmackDown in a couple weeks, but I hear more of Wade Barrett than I do of Joe. Isn't Joe supposed to be what JR was and calling it, and then you had Jerry as the as the color commentator? Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Out of the commentating, so another issue I've got. The announcers, the ring announcers. Was it Mike that does NXT?
Mike is now, because he lives in Florida, so.
Mike needs to go to Raw or SmackDown. Lily needs to be on Raw. Alicia Taylor needs to go away.
What?
Just like Samantha Irvin did.
You know what? I'm starting to think you just have something against black people.
Okay, we're not going that route. But
you
no.
have something against, they do announce very similarly, though. The only difference is
The problem I have with those two ring announcing, they try too hard and they make it a cinematic moment.
very, very true. Yeah, you're not wrong.
You had Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I understand it's a historic moment, but you ruin him. You ruin his announcement by winning because you're crying. I'm not saying that's unprofessional, but you can't do that.
Like, I mean, it is unprofessional.
Like you can't do that. You can't show your emotions like that. Michael can show his emotions because he's been there with Cody since day one. She's had no anything with Cody Rhodes forever.
It's warranted from Michael. Plus, the job of the commentator is put yourself in the emotions and feel of the viewer.
Right.
The ring announcer literally has one job, and that is to announce
but
the superstar.
You can't sit there and be like,
yeah, imagine if Bruce Buffer would, at the end of a Tyson fight,
everybody would have given him shit for it.
Yeah.
Bruce Buffer's one of the greatest. He should be the WWE ring announcer on all three brands. Come on, Bruce. But it's just they're too cinematic for me, and I think that may be a problem for me. But that's fine. I'll take the heat with that. I'm just so used to the Lillian and the Howard and the Tony,
Justin.
What was
Tony Schimmel.
Tony Schimmel. Like, I'm so used to those guys and their energy. These two are just so cinematic that I can't do it. So put Lillian back on Raw. Give me Mike for SmackDown. Put her back on NXT just a little bit longer. Because I think she got rushed to that point. And the reason I say that, what made her so good on NXT? She fit with that crowd.
Yes. NXT is a very punk rock vibe,
exactly.
And so is she. That's why she worked on NXT.
And I don't know why we all think Sam left because Ricochet. I don't know if that's true. Maybe she didn't want to do it anymore, which is fine. She was, as much crap as I give her, she did it right. She wasn't cinematic until within a couple years. You take away the cinematics from it, you give me experienced ring announcers, I think you have a better show. Because when I watch Raw and when I watch SmackDown, I'd much rather watch SmackDown because Lillian does the job right. And she's always done the job right. But Alicia I think, put her back down to NXT for a couple years. Let her work out the punk stuff, punk rocky kind of vibe, and give her back another shot. But I want Lillian back on Raw. I want Mike on SmackDown. That's kind of the last thing about SmackDown is the ring announcer, the ring announcer. Same with Raw. Alicia, I don't think she deserved Raw. She should have stayed on SmackDown with Joe and Wade. Then you keep Lillian on Raw with Michael and Pat.
I think there's something to what you're saying, though, because as soon as Samantha left, they pretty much promoted Alicia just because they wanted to fill the void of that, cinematic black woman
Yeah.
on
And
the show.
there's nothing to do with race here, guys.
No, but it's just like copy, paste.
It's like, hey man, make sure you. It's like anytime you see a new WWE title from the Universal Championship.
Copy,
hey man,
paste.
can I copy your homework? Yeah, just don't make it the same. Okay, red Universal Championship. Oh, guess what? Blue. It's like
Samantha Irving, Alicia Taylor.
yeah, it's like
it's like she's got. The only difference is she's got more of a guttural growl in her voice, which I think lends itself more to common ring announcing,
right,
than that. But yeah, I didn't think we'd have so much to say about announcers and commentators, but yeah, it just shows you guys how small things like that can make a big difference in the viewing experience. It can. With that said, I think our crews are set here for Raw and for SmackDown as far as people. So going forward, it's going to be Joe and Wade and Alicia, and then Lillian, and then on Monday it's going to be Cole and Pat
and Alicia. Alicia.
See what I mean? They just switched
exactly.
But that brings us to the Raw recap a little bit, and it starts off with a drone shot. Believe it or not. I
don't like the drone.
They're showcasing their technology, so they're going in and zooming in. You can see exactly. Yeah, you can see Pat wave into the crowd and giving you a little bit of a hype feel going in. But what I want to kind of do is run down some of the stats for the show for Raw. They were in San Jose, California. There were 5 matches.
More than the debut match, more than the debut day, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. 4 promos in ring, 2 video packages, 3 backstage segments, 9 commercial breaks, and a 2-hour and 32 minutes and 45 seconds broadcast with commercials.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So less than your normal 3 hour.
Do you actually see commercials, or do you see more of the commercials, but it's them still continuing to wrestle? Because I've got it to where there's no commercial. They're still wrestling, and Michael and Pat are talking.
Now, do you watch it live?
Yes. Yeah, I have no commercials. I literally don't have commercials going on at all. They'll be pop up the little thing on the bottom. We're going to be on Netflix. And then it goes to dark, and then the match is still going on. And then it goes dark, and the match is still going on. I have no commercials. There's times where I have to get backstage interviews. They'll cut off to Kathy or whoever's backstage. I don't have commercials.
And you watch it live.
Mm-hmm.
You watched it starting at 8 o'clock to...
Mm-hmm. You may have to check your subscription, but yeah, I think...
Because I've got the no ads regular, the $15 a month one, full 10H.
But you get actual commercials?
Yeah. The commercial, when it's the commercials break, I watched it live. It told me your live event may have commercial breaks on it.
Uh-huh.
And when it says Raw rolls on, it gives me a time bar that says the commercials will last this long.
I don't have that.
What?
I don't have that at all. I literally watch it live. I have no commercials.
Okay, next Monday.
I'll send you a video of it when it goes to commercial. I'm like, dude, I don't have the commercials. I literally don't have commercials. It's literally them still wrestling.
That's so weird because last Monday I watched over at Elijah's, the debut episode.
Uh-huh.
His had commercials, and he's got the 4K top one, and then I watched mine this week. I'll
look at my subscription right now, but if you man,
so you start at 8 o'clock, and it's not pre-recorded or anything like that. Huh?
No, I don't have. I'm gonna look at my subscription, but yeah, I don't have commercials or anything.
Let us know in the comments if any of you are finding any of this out as well. If you've got commercials, as in you got the ad-free version, the full HD or the 4K, and you're seeing commercials, or if you're getting black and then it goes back to the match and people are still talking. Let us know about that. If you got the US version, because I know some of the UK.
Yeah, some of the UKs, I think they're dealing with
they don't have commercials. They never did, and so Because TNA subscription service does that.
Do
TNA
they?
Plus, yeah, they do it to where it goes black, and then it'll bring you back to the match, and you get to see the rest of the match while the TV broadcast is on commercial.
Gotcha. I'll have to look into it, but yeah, man, I'm telling you, I'll take a video of it on Monday and I'll send it to you. I'm like, I don't have any commercials. I literally see them, and then it's Pat and Michael still talking. Pat and Michael are still going over the matches. They're talking about the match. They're not even acting like they're on TV. They're just talking like we're doing right now. They're just talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll send you a video of it. Be like, hey man, they're going to commercial. I'll like when they like I'll start my camera, and when they say we're going live on Netflix, it'll go black and it'll go right back into the match.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I would love to see
Yeah.
this because I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. I was hoping it would be because that's what I want out of it. But
Yeah, man. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with commercials. It's literally gone right into the match still. And like I said, there's a couple moments where they'll do like the signs of the night and all that stuff, and then they'll do like while the match is going, they'll do like a Kathy Kelly runs down a video promo or something. But yeah, I haven't seen any like any actual commercials on Netflix for like anything.
Okay, I'll have to do some research on this because
Yeah.
I would, and you help me out as well because I would love to be able to see Raw commercial free.
Yeah, I'll take a video of it Monday night. I'll look at my subscriptions and stuff as the week goes on. But yeah, I'll see what's going on. But yeah, man, I don't have commercials like you guys.
Huh?
I'm a little special. I think I pay a little bit extra, but
Maybe so. Yeah.
I don't know what I pay for Netflix.
Yeah, let us know though. Seriously, if you want to comment down below, let us know what the situation for you on Raw is because this is genuinely striking a curiosity for me.
Yep.
So yeah, with that breakdown, 5 matches, 4 promos, 2 video packages, 3 backstage segments, and a 2.5 hour runtime, less than 3 hours, which they said on the rumor mill might be a normal thing where sometimes they might do a 2-hour broadcast. They might do a 2.5. They might do a 3-hour broadcast.
The rumor mill goes anywhere from 40 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh, is that what
from
it
what
said?
I heard? And if I ever see a 40-minute Raw, we're gonna have some flipping issues there, Triple H. Because man, I can't do 40 minutes. I need more. Like,
Yeah.
I get that energy. Like I get off work, I'm like, oh, I got 2 more hours of wrestling to watch. When it said 10:30, I was like, what? But yeah, I got home and watched till 10:30. I was like, oh, the match is over.
Yeah. So first thing was the opening segment between Punk and then Rollins came out and Drew came out, and this was standard affair of like get the crowd hyped to see CM Punk, but it was really just there to promote the Rumble is all it was. Hey, these 3 guys are in the Rumble. This is their next step. That's all it was about.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, just your general thoughts, how you feel about the Rumble going forward, and maybe a little bit of your prediction.
Okay, so it's gonna be the same on SmackDown too. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm entering the Royal Rumble." That's just we're in Rumble season. That's just we know everybody's gonna be in the Rumble. There's no need to announce it that you're gonna be in there because if you're not announcing you're in there, then there's some surprises I don't know what's going on about.
Well, yeah, but there's always you got to get people hyped right now, and the people that are announced right now, it's a stacked lineup.
Dude, this is one of the most stacked Rumbles we've had in years. That we've known of without any surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I think they're hyping up too much, and I'm not saying that in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
You got Cena, Roman, Punk, Rollins, Owens. Owens will probably jump in after his match with Cody because he'll be upset. Sammy, you have all these superstars. Orton could come back and attack Owens at the Rumble because of what happened. That'll cost Owens to lose. There you go. There's so many unknowns. There's one surprise I would like to have happen. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this.
I'm not sure yet.
But there's just on the men's side. I would say I haven't really heard much about the women's Rumble. I think Nia is the only one that said I'm entering the Rumble. It's like they're forgetting about the women. It's like, are we having a women's Rumble or not? Because, but it's just they're overhyping a little bit too much. But You're not wrong. This is going to be one of the best Rumbles we've had in such a long time because you get Cena back. You get Orton back. You haven't had a Cena in a Rumble in years? 2015, 14?
Nah, 18.
Was it 18?
I think 18 was his last
Oh, yeah,
Rumble.
because Shinsuke won.
Mm-hmm.
And then he should have won at Mania, but we'll go. That'll be another topic for another day. But, no, if WWE has it their way, because it's the final year, they'll give it to Cena.
So that's your prediction.
But if you don't give it to Cena, I don't know. I don't know who takes it. I don't have a prediction right now. I just don't. Because you got so many things going on. Like we've talked about, there's so many things going on. You don't know who could go over. You just don't.
My 3 leading guys right now are Cena, Roman, and McIntyre. Those are my 3.
I don't think Roman will win. I think he'll be in the top 5. I think he'll finish in the top 5. There's also a little rumor mill going on. There's going to be a 31st entrant.
What?
A certain final boss is
No.
going to insert himself.
No.
There's a rumor. The number 30 will be out there. It'll be the final 2. All of a sudden,
because he's the boss and he can
do what he wants. But I know there's one person I want to pop up at the Rumble. The biggest pop in Rumble history. I don't care if he gets eliminated in 2 seconds. The theme song for that man, the pop for that man will be crazy. If you say his name and he appears, I believe in Joe Hendry. But dude, if Joe Hendry shows up at the Royal Rumble, there's my winner right there. Not really. Don't hold me to that timeout on that. But I don't care if he lasts 2 seconds, but the pop for that man,
Of course, yeah.
hands down, to be the greatest thing ever.
Well, he had a battle royal in NXT.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw the Twitter thing.
He got eliminated in like 5 seconds.
But put him in the Rumble, I'll be fine. But with this being such a stacked lineup, dude, I think my top 3, Cena, Punk, Jay Uso, maybe.
So that's the other thing that we definitely need to talk about, because Michael did a lot of spoiling here in this episode, because he announced LA Knight and Jay Uso for the Royal Rumble despite them not announcing themselves. Plus, later on in this show, Jay Uso challenged Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I did see that, and I wonder why. Why?
Yeah. Like, why would Michael announce that beforehand if he knew the plan was Jay was coming out? Therefore, I mean, it basically says, hey, guys, Jay Uso's not winning. Which
we all knew Jay wasn't going to win. I think Jay should be world champion this year because of how hyped over he is right now.
But not before Mania.
No. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but with like we said, the Rumble is super stacked. You gotta have Cena as the top 3. You gotta have Punk because he's CM Punk. He just hands down brings money. He's a draw.
Yeah, some way somehow Punk's got to be involved in the main event scene in Mania.
Seth Rollins could win. I mean, I don't see it happening, but again, you brought up Drew. Drew could win, and I don't know why they would let him win because he's not focused on a world championship right now.
Right. His goal is to just tackle Roman.
Beat the crap out of anybody who helped Roman. Maybe you set up Roman and Drew at Mania, because there's also another rumor mill going out that Rock's not showing up at Mania. Roman needs somebody to go against.
Yeah.
Now that him and Drew have gone against each other a couple times at Mania, or 1 year at Mania, I think 35, when Roman came back from his leukemia stuff. But you have Drew McIntyre now versus the OTC now. That's kind of a big draw right there. It's so hard to predict the Rumble every
it's just
single year.
Stacked, yeah.
Previous years, 2019, 2020 was kind of predictable because you had Drew. and because Drew was beating the crap out of everybody, and he eliminated Brock. It's like, okay.
It's like, well,
The
this
guy
is
that
the
eliminated
guy.
Brock, okay, makes sense. I think the most surprising one in recent years was Shinsuke winning, because I don't really remember him being all that over back in 2018.
The Rumble has a very interesting way of the rumor mill has picked a guy, and this is the guy who's going to win. So no matter how illogical it seems, just because some whispers backstage has said this is the guy that's going to win,
Yeah.
he automatically becomes the favorite, despite the fact that he's might not be doing a whole lot before the Rumble
Right.
happens.
Like
The Rumble's weird like that.
Like Shecky comes in at number 1 and Shecky wins. Like, who? Where'd Shecky come from?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that happens all the time with the Rumbles.
I think the most predictable one though was Edge 21 coming in at number 1. It's like, okay, we didn't need all that. Like,
Yeah.
Edge didn't need to win the Royal Rumble, but
Yeah, with that said, a guy that could be showing up here in the Rumble pretty soon is Penta, El Cero Miedo. And notable because I'm sure you've got some thoughts to say. This is a guy who's been outside of WWE for a very long time. I first saw him in Lucha Underground, if you remember.
I vaguely remember Lucha Underground. I remember seeing John Morrison do some crazy ass
Johnny
things
Mundo.
there. Oh, he did some crazy stuff there.
That was my first experience with Mr. Rick O'Shea. Mr. O'Shea. He was Prince Puma, and then Karrion Kross was in there as well, King Cuerno, and then Rey Mysterio showed up from time to time. But that was my first experience with Penta, and then he went to TNA, became a champion there, did AAA, and he's been in AEW for the last few years. He's cool. He's a cool guy. Don't get me wrong, but I've had this with other people that they bring in that are really, really hyped. Sometimes you just don't get it, and that's less. That's less because they're not good, and more so because WWE can overhype somebody, and when they just have a normal match, you fail to see the hype. They did that in NXT. They had Julia Vasquez, and their matches were just,
yeah.
and so it was like, what's the hype? I don't get. It's not until about 3 or 4 matches in that you can go, this is why they signed them.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to watch more Raw for Penta, because I watched that match on Monday. I was like,
He just seems like another guy on the roster.
I was like, okay, like, and then obviously we knew who Chad was gonna go against last week because they've been hinting at Penta coming for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. The hype there is because WWE does overhype their people. They always have. They always will. I don't understand why they do it, why they continue to do it, but it happens. Mm-hmm. I've seen his highlights. He's a good athlete. He really is. I did not see it Monday. Like you said, I guess I gotta have to continue watching him from week to week just to see. But
there are certain people that hit when WWE brings them in. 2 people that really come to mind, and NXT over the years was really good at this too. But KO,
mm-hmm.
NXT debut, main roster debut when he went directly after Cena. That's a guy that just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching it and I was a little on the younger side, I didn't know who KO was. I didn't follow Ring of Honor like that, but he showed up, and I was like, oh, this guy's awesome.
I didn't know about him until he popped up at Cena and beat the crap out of Cena. So
immediately I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. And then Nakamura in 2016, facing against Zayn, had, at that point, one of the best matches I had ever seen, and I was like, this guy.
I need to go back and watch some NXT because I'm so off on NXT. I just never. I think I may have watched it when it was doing that goofy stuff as like the mentor,
the
like
2.0.
the Nexus stuff. Like I may have watched that.
Oh.
Wade Barrett and Daniel and Ryback. Hatred for that man too, but there's just. I gotta go back and watch some of the NXT because I've seen some matches. Mm-hmm. There would be some weekends I'd watch NXT because it would be WrestleMania or Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
The freaking action on there is so outrageous. You don't see it on the main roster. You just don't.
In a Not to say that all the people on NXT are lesser experienced, because you get so many people that are from the indies who obviously do have their own experience. Yep. But the feel of NXT is almost like college football versus the NFL. The people on NXT have so much more leniency and have so much more to prove that you get matches that can be crazy. While on Raw, you got a big debut with like Penta, but you've got a great opponent in Chad Gable, but they just got to do a standard TV match. Yeah. It wasn't an impressive match. It was a match simply to say, here's Penta, here's his moves.
He's here. Promo. He's here.
That's all it was. And the match itself was notable simply because there were some chants, and since you apparently have commercial breaks off, maybe you get even more of this, but Netflix has done a very good job of keeping things uncensored, at least on the live broadcast.
You mean...
So when, on USA, if the crowd will say something like, holy shit, it'll be bleeped out.
Oh, yeah.
And the broadcast will be
I've not noticed, there's not been... Even on the 2 episodes of Raw so far, I haven't seen much of the holy
There has been one notable instance. It was
Macaulay Culkin.
Well, yeah,
the Macaulay Culkin pop. That was like, oh my god!
But in the Penta match, they chanted that, it was uncensored. Yeah, I documented that, and so I was like, okay, at the very least, if I'm not going to experience no commercials, I at least get to have an uncensored broadcast.
There was none of that on the continuation.
The other thing, and this is more so an interesting note for me, is Cole mentioned TNA and AAA on the broadcast. It's just Vince never would have allowed that to happen.
Vince would have killed you instantly because he would have cut you off real quick because, man, Vince McMahon's hatred for all these other other wrestling companies was awful.
It's like no other company exists.
Right. And it's like, I think that's why TNA went under for so long, is because Vince was so in charge. The WWE or TNA and AEW, they were scared. And they couldn't get the big name people. Now TNA has a little bit of a crossover with WWE going on, so I think Triple H is like, promote these guys. They're a business too. We got to get people watching wrestling just in general.
Exactly.
Because that's the problem. You got the WWE fans like us, like me. Me being specific, he's watched more than I do. You got to understand that WWE in itself has always been the company. So you try to watch something else, you're putting them up against WWE. Now, if you don't watch WWE and you watch TNA or you watch AEW, you're going to focus on those two. Now that we've watched WWE so long, I could watch AEW right now and go, that match was literally not worth 5 minutes on AEW because, I don't know, they're going super slow. They're obviously like, everybody makes a big deal about the hit in the leg. They're overdoing that galore. Like, a dude did it while he was kicking the ring rope. It's like, you don't do that. You don't go, no. That's when you kick him in the face, you go, but yeah, it's just to promote these other companies out there. Obviously, they're not going to promote AEW. There's no way in hell they're going to do that. You gotta show love to all these other ones.
The health of the business means that you improve as well.
Exactly.
That's where we're at right there. The other thing too, and this could be I could do a whole podcast on this alone. Penta did the Canadian Destroyer. They called it the Mexican Destroyer. And Chad Gable kicked out. I have such a gripe, and this right here, I could go on a whole tangent. This here is the number one reason, and you might call me whatever. This is the number one reason that I don't watch independent wrestling as much as I do, or as much as I probably would want to. Same reason, and AEW is guilty of this all the time. WWE's way of doing their match, they're guilty of it a little bit too, but the way they're doing his match is moves matter. In AEW, moves don't matter. you could do a finisher 3 times, and as long as it's a cool move, as long as it's impactful to the match, they can do it. As long as it pops the crowd. Independent wrestling is exactly like that. They just like seeing cool-ass moves. And so if I do 3 Canadian Destroyers in a row, who gives a crap if it means anything for the story or your move is not powerful enough? To me, it's silly, right?
Yeah.
It feels like video game wrestling, and I don't watch TV wrestling to feel like it's a video game.
Yeah.
I do video game wrestling. I can do that with my action figures. I could pick up the New Day here, and I'm gonna do 8 million Canadian Destroyers.
Yeah.
I watch the TV wrestling for a little more of a cinematic experience and drama.
Just real quick, I saw a video and it was Edge, or I'm sorry, it was Cope, the rated R superstar. Cope. I watched him say this were the best wrestle. Yeah, the goofiness and the unseriousness of AEW, they will not make it past 2025. They will not do it. Yeah, they went to a smaller venue. They will not make it past 2025. They can't get the seriousness going. The 27 titles don't help.
Wow,
And it's just, they're free flowing. They don't have storylines like WWE. They will never beat WWE. Hands down. Sorry about you, AEW lovers, but you guys won't beat us. I'm sorry. WWE ain't going nowhere. But like you said, the Canadian Destroyer, that's a move that you're done. No, there should be no kick out. But why is Gable kicking out of it?
Just a random mid-card guy who hasn't had a lick of success, despite the fact that he is good. Chad, he's a good character. But that's a microcosm. It is.
Yeah.
It's just something I have to learn to live with, that moves don't matter as much as I think they should.
I'm not disagreeing with you. And there was one move, I was sitting there watching that Penta match, and he did the springboard off the bottom rope. Dude, he totally missed the bottom rope. He was like, and then he was like, I'll turn around and drop my foot and drop my leg. But
he does speak pretty clearly as far as Mexican wrestlers go, because you bring in someone who's international, and a lot of times they can't cut a promo like that. But he did a fairly good job at cutting an English promo.
He did both English and Spanish promo, and that's where you need it, because you got to bring in the Mexican audience also, which I think we have a pretty good following over in many countries.
Well, and they were in San Jose tonight,
which is
on Raw,
which is like 2 hours from the Mexican border or something like that. So
jury's still out on Penta. He's really cool. I like him, but as far as the WWE audience, I think you got to do a little bit more.
I guess I got to do a little bit more research on him, but I hope he turns out great. They've hyped him up enough. I hope he becomes the superstar that he's been in other companies. We just got to give him the right feud and the right person, and I don't think Chad's that, but get him a Rey Mysterio feud, and I don't know, give him a U.S. title or Intercontinental Championship feud, and I think we got ourselves a superstar right there.
Yeah. As far as other things that are going down on Raw, Sheamus versus Kaiser. Big note on that. It was 2-1 was the all-time series between them two,
and they've wrestled the last 4 weeks, so they're literally back and forth.
It's 3-1. Sheamus now holds the series over him. But the biggest note that I had out of that was this is awesome chants from the crowds, and it's been nearly 4 years since WrestleMania 37 since Sheamus has held a title. Period.
Wow. And that would have been Braun Strowman and Nicholas beating him.
Nope. It would have been him beating Riddle.
Really?
Yeah, for the U.S. title. Wow. 2021, Mania 37.
Then which one was it? 38 that Braun Strowman and... No, it would have been 38.
34. That was 34. 2018, WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans.
Oh, that's right. It was New Orleans, because he went out and was trying... They were going to say it was Bobby. The rumor was supposed to be Bobby, but Bobby didn't show up till Monday.
Yeah.
Because that following Monday he went after Elias. But had Bobby come out, it would have been Braun and Bobby as champion instead of Braun and Nicholas.
Bobby probably didn't want to be stuck in the tag division.
He didn't need to be.
No, and Vince being the way that he is, he's like, I guess you're a tag wrestler now. Anyway. With that said, we already talked about the transfer portal. We already talked about spoilers. I want to talk a little bit about the world title scene, just shortly, because are we just giving matches out now? Like, Gunther said, "Will anyone challenge me?" And then Jay's like, "Yeet, I will." And it's like, okay, Saturday night's main event. Here we go.
I have a problem with Gunther being champion anyways, and it stems from a long line of he's a Goldberg superstar. He's a 3-moved superstar.
You're going to get a lot of hate for that.
Probably, and I will take that. Whatever comments y'all want to leave, I'll take it. I don't think Gunther's that good. I didn't think he was good as the IC champion. His title reign went on way too long. I didn't think his title reign with the World Heavyweight Champion, or I don't think his title reign's gone on that well. I don't see the hype in Gunther. I never did. I never did as the NXT champ or the NXT United Kingdom champ as the second or last one, the 890 days. I don't. He's been a champion 80% of his time in WWE.
That's true.
Why? He doesn't draw anything. Damian had a good run going. Why do we waste good runs? Liv was having a great run. We had Ripley win. Damian was having a great run. Why do we have that? If you wanted Balor and Priest, give it the World Championship. 2026 Royal Rumble should not be overseas. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we might have to do a whole Rumble podcast.
I'm over the Saudi Arabia stuff. Why do we need Gunther to be a champion? But you're not wrong. There's no story going with the World Championship. That makes no sense. And that's why the rumor mill is going that Logan Paul is getting a world title match at Mania for no reason. Just because there's nothing going on for Gunther.
Which baffles me, because it's like, you got Punk Rollins right there. Give it the world title.
Give Rollins the world title back, or have Punk beat Gunther?
Yeah, and then Punk versus Rollins at Mania.
I like Drew. That Money in the Bank match shouldn't have been won by him. If you're gonna have Punk screw him over anyways,
screw him in the match.
Should have had him screwed in the match and let Jay win Money in the Bank. Then you could have Jay as your world champion already. Then okay, Gunther or Damian, whatever, or I don't know, something else. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the world title. He hasn't been on Raw other than last week in a month. It seems like it's like
December also does really weird stuff for everyone because of the holidays. But another gripe too I have about Jay is, and I know this is his thing, and I know that gives him the popularity, but he does not scream world title contender because he feels so silly. And there was a spark on Raw where he got serious. He dropped the whole catchphrase thing. He got serious, and then it was, oh, okay, now back to catchphrase. And I was like, that is the world title contender I want to see.
I missed that segment completely. I was on my way home from work, and I missed that segment. I didn't have it on my phone.
It's not even worth going out of your way to watch. It really isn't, because it's a whole setup of like them interacting
for the one match. It's a one-off match. That's all
exactly,
it is.
because Jay's a popular wrestler, and they want to give him something to do after the Bloodline, and they want him to still be worthy of that main event moniker. But to me, Jay needs to embrace a little bit more of his serious side if he wants to be considered a world title contender. When he went up against Roman in the I Quit match during the pandemic, he felt like a world title contender because it was a grave family conflict. He can still have the yeet catchphrase, but he needs to
be more serious. And then like when he goes, he needs to be serious about it. He doesn't be like, it's like,
it almost feels like it undercuts his whole thing. But yeah, there's stuff to be said about that. I do want to move on to the women's IC title match because I think you and I might have a few different opinions on this one.
Yeah, your champion should have been Natty the whole time, but that's my
Oh well, yeah,
stance on it.
that's neither here nor there. One thing I will say is the video packages that they do, because they did a video package before the match, and it made me believe in both of those people, both of those wrestlers as champion, to where I saw it going either way. But me personally, Lyra does not have a character. She has zero character whatsoever.
Yep.
And she's probably the better wrestler than Kai, which is why they gave her the belt. But she has zero character whatsoever.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That whole tournament was built up so Dakota Kai could feel like a credible single star and win the belt, and she lost.
I could agree with that. But if you look at the tournament in general for both sides, again, Chelsea's fine as U.S. champ. Valkyria's fine as champ. Why don't we have a credible person as a champion? Natalia. Not Bailey. Not Belair, her partner.
Naomi.
Her name's Trinity, but Naomi. Why isn't Naomi in that? Why aren't they mid-card champions right now? Natalie should have been a world champion 20 times right now. But for some reason, they just don't, they don't do it. But why didn't she become the inaugural person to then, again, pull a Cena and do all these challenges and raise up the women's division?
Because it builds the title, and the person that eventually wins it off them is a bigger deal. It leads it to the fact, like on SmackDown, they had Micha versus Chelsea Green in a rematch with zero build.
Yeah.
It's a rematch that had to happen. And it's like, why? So we can get Chelsea an extra win out of it? It happened for no reason in that. So I don't know. I'd like to say that through being a champion, Lyra can get more of a character and a reason for having the title.
I hope so.
But I'm not going to hold my breath.
I don't either. I don't hold my breath a lot anymore with WWE at the moment. There's some, like I said, I'm going to keep watching till the day I die, but there's just some things right now I'm just like, okay, it's over. Like the world title, again, what's going on with that? What are we doing with these one-offs? And why are we having a pay-per-view the week before the Rumble?
It's a televised special.
It's just more money to shoot down people's throats.
Well, yeah.
But
that's what it is. I want to mention a couple things quickly. The Miz versus Sami Zayn match was a whole heaping load of nothing. And
Sami can go away, too.
And in line with the spoilers, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a ticker timeline of upcoming events on Raw. And they announced this match before they ever had the backstage segment where Sami confronted Miz.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Go back and watch it, people at home. They had upcoming on Raw, and it said Sami Zayn versus Miz. I'm like, when did they announce that?
Yeah.
And it literally happened later in the show where they announced the match.
Yeah.
The only thing, Miz got a jobber entrance, and it was cool. You know when Miz goes through his corner-to-corner, jump-through clothesline?
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn, when Miz went to the other corner to bounce back, rebounded and hit him with the haluva.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
You mean
dope.
the hell of a kick?
Yeah.
The haluva kick. It's the hell of a
Haluva
kick.
kick.
Let's just be
Hell of a
honest here.
kick.
It's the hell of a kick. That's all it is.
But it was a nothing match. If it leads to a Karrion Kross Sami Zayn feud, okay, sure. But for now, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And then you had the Rhea promo, which Rhea was like the third most important person in that ring by the end of the segment. It was literally just an excuse to get Bayley on the show in her hometown.
Bayley, though, she needs to be a champion again, man. She's not. She deserves it. Bayley is just, she's one of the hardest women in the division.
But do you have, a genuine question, do you have confidence that Papa H can really do a Bayley run proper after we saw what happened last year? She did absolutely nothing with the championship. Like, there was no... I watch a lot of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in her championship run last year.
So a question I got is it just like Cody's reign right now?
I could tell you something that happened in his reign. I can't tell you something that happened in Bailey's.
Okay, other than the AJ Styles storyline and the Solo Sikoa match and the Roman stuff. Those are important, but with regarding the title, ignore Cody having the championship in those moments. Name me one moment in Cody's reign that's been eye-popping.
I'd say his storyline with Kevin's what comes to mind. The
That's about it.
Package pile driver.
That's
It's a
about
big
it.
moment.
Yeah, that's about it. Bailey's run is similar to that.
You think so?
The only issue she had was half the roster wasn't on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Becky was on Raw. Charlotte's been gone for 3 years. Alexa has a kid. She's been gone for 2. All these women that should have been on SmackDown and Raw are all on Raw. We're missing 3 of the biggest women in WWE. There's no room to go if you don't have those 3 women. As much shit as I give Charlotte, she's a big name draw. If she's not there, Bailey has no real run. Becky's on Raw running against Rhea, running against freaking anybody else on Raw. But Belair, I mean, she's on SmackDown, but she's stuck in the tag division. It's like,
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I want a proper Bailey title run. I do, because I think they wasted so much of her run last year just doing nonsense.
they've got, and you give, well, they're not going to give Bailey the title run because Tiffy just won it. Tiffany's not going anywhere. She'll be champion.
Right. It's just an excuse to give Tiffany an easy win.
Now, well, I wouldn't say it's going to be easy because you're going to have a ton of
a quality win.
Right. I would say quality because Bailey's a big name. If you beat Bailey, that's a big name right there. Now she still has to go against Charlotte and Becky and Alexa and whoever else comes back, any older wrestlers or newer upcoming stars. She still has to defend that title as often as she can, but she needs credible opponents, and that's the problem with Bailey. She didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
Then when Nia came back, Nia's a credible opponent in a certain stance, but
and Nia needed the belt so bad that they gave it to her.
no, she didn't. Not at all. No, Nia didn't need it. Not at all. She's done nothing to warrant that championship. Anyways, but yeah, that Rhea promo was.
Yeah, I don't want to spend any more time talking about it
That's
other than the fact that Bailey eyed Rhea's championship, so maybe that's our Mania feud.
Maybe. I can see that.
But it was just a whole heaping.
Pile of dog do.
Yeah, it was nothing. What I do want to talk about, and my favorite thing on the show, bar none, Damian Priest is a freaking badass, and I will fight anyone who says differently.
I've gained a lot of respect for Damian the last year and a half. Going from being in the Judgment Day to then going out on your own. He was a big star before the Judgment Day, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But being in that group built his character so well. When he won the championship, it was like, why? Why do we need Damian as champion? But the more you watched it and the more you respected the championship reign, you're like, you guys got it. When you do a suplex off the rail onto steps or whatever move that was,
the Falcon Arrow.
yes, when you do that move and you cause Finn Balor to go in a neck brace, you just killed a man. Okay, like you just ruined it. Like, that man ain't moving. Like, but obviously the match couldn't have ended that way.
Okay, you didn't have commercial breaks, right? So the way that it happened for us with commercial breaks was he hit the broken arrow, the Falcon Arrow, through the table, and then they went to black, and then when it came back, Finn was in the stretcher
Oh,
with the neck
no.
brace
I
on.
watched that whole thing. They were getting him on the stretcher and everything.
You did?
Yep. Oh yeah. I didn't watch a single. Nope. I watched him get put on there. Michael and Pat were talking about it. They were watching the replay of it, and dude, I didn't watch any commercials about it.
Yeah, so for us with the commercial breaks, it was he goes to the table, we come back, he's in a neck brace, and they're stretching him out of the ring, and it's like, okay, what the hell just happened?
No.
Here?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I don't know how Damian.
When we came back from commercial break, Damian Priest was like, "All right, screw it, I'm gonna kick his ass."
Yeah. That match, I would have given it an 8 out of 10. I'm never going to give anything a 10 out of 10 on this channel. You will never hear that from me unless it blows my mind. And this guy knows how hard it is to blow my mind with wrestling. Nothing will ever get a 10 out of 10. But just that match and the end of the feud is finally done. The feud's done. There needs to be no more. But I think overall it was pretty solid. I think the right winner won. Glad we got the broken tables because it's WWE that we want tables. Like I think the match Kevin and I'm gonna go back to that real quick. Kevin and Cody should be TLC. That's the match I would have gone. I don't like ladder matches. I get the concept of them, but TLC, man, that's a match right there. But yeah, man, just the broken tables and Damian being the badass he was, I'm fine with that I was fine with that result.
If you were to describe things that happened in this match to just somebody, it would.
You couldn't.
Oh my gosh!
If you could go to my house right now and tell them, they'd be like, "Oh, okay." Or you go anywhere and tell somebody. You don't tell a WWE fan that. If you tell a non-WWE fan that, they're like, "Oh." But if you tell a WWE fan, you're like, "Yes, absolutely."
Because just describing the things that I've looked at in that match, he choke slammed Finn Balor
with a chair on his neck.
Yeah, with a chair on his neck. He pushed Balor's stretcher and rolled him into the ring. Did he choke slam? No, he did that with the chair on his neck.
He had the chair on his neck because he was in the corner and Balor was going to do the something.
It's the clothesline. The momentum clothesline is what he did when Finn had the neck brace on, which I love that move. I'm a sucker for a big
JBL. Or the JBL's clothesline. That's pretty much what it is. It's JBL's clothesline.
But he does momentum with it. He just
so does JBL flings off the rope and does it.
But I know that. But I'm saying he goes from one rope to the other rope.
Real quick, why are we getting JBL all over the place outside of WWE? What is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is his
he's supposed to show up next week?
What's
on
his
Raw
deal
too.
with NXT or TNA? What's he going after Dolph Ziggler for? Sorry, Dolph. I'm not gonna call you your name. It's Dolph Ziggler forever. No, it's Dolph. Why? What is going on with JBL? What is he doing? I don't know what he's doing. He's just all over the place. Like, is he promoting? Is he getting is he looking for talent? Like,
because he was just there he's supposed to be here on Raw next week.
I saw that. I was like, why is JBL coming to Raw if he's on TNA doing all this stuff? Like,
I don't know. But man, clotheslines when done properly and effectively can be an awesome because it just looks like you're taking the guy's head off. Seeing that with a neck brace on, him with a chair. 2 tables were crashed. A barricade was broken. Oh, my gosh.
Real quick, going about the tables thing, you want to know what the greatest crashing through a table moment is, in my opinion?
I'm going to throw one out there. It may not be it, but Hardy Swanton off the scaffolding.
Oh. Either anything with Edge. I've got 2 of them.
Okay. Foley,
Edge,
WrestleMania 22. The burning table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cena, Edge, Unforgiven. 2 tables off the ladder, and then Undertaker Edge one night stand, or was it Extreme Rules? It was one of the pay-per-views. It was the Undertaker's last one because if he didn't win the championship, he was fired. Because this was WrestleMania 24 storyline. Edge throwing Undertaker through that and ending the Undertaker's career because then he came back for SummerSlam, which was in Indianapolis. I could have gotten tickets to that, but I was bad at school. Stay in school, kids. But yeah, but that match right there, anything with tables being broken, it reminds me of Edge, especially the Unforgiven one.
Okay.
That one, I think it was Unforgiven.
It was, yeah.
That one, hands
In
down,
Canada.
is the greatest table break in my opinion. Yeah, the TLCs with Hardys and Dudleys and Edge and Christian, those were good. But man, nothing beats the Edge going through that two tables and he like folds in half and falls down. Like, you can't beat that. Like,
But yeah, there was just some epic moves being thrown around in that main event. Oh man, I have not rewatched it since, but I kind of want to go back and rewatch it just to experience all the carnage.
we're
that
gonna
went
have to
down.
do a live stream on some pay-per-views, especially like Mania or something, like where we
Some
sit here
reactions.
and watch. Like, oh my god! Like, we can describe, like, we can be Pat and Mike, or Michael and Pat sitting here watching, and
We'll be yeeting all over the place. Oh!
but dude, just sitting here watching, got a big old TV back behind the camera, and but
So yeah, as far as Raw goes, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to talk about. I loved the main event because last week when they were promoting, I was like, "Is really all that we're gonna have next week is a street fight and Penta's debut, and that's it?"
yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe it was.
This Raw was definitely a lot better than the debut Raw. And I'm not trying to dog the debut because it was Netflix. It's a new era, like we talked about. This is the biggest era in WWE we're getting because this is the thing that's going on for 10 years. It's from what I thought it was, it's a 10-year contract. The start of the Netflix debut on Netflix just was not there. And it was overhyped because they had to do they've done those press conferences after Raw or after the pay-per-views, and I keep calling them pay-per-views, which I'm going to keep calling them because that's what I grew up with. You just they overhyped it, and this week felt like a true Raw. It
Like a
felt like
normal episode,
it felt
yeah.
like a normal episode. There's no hype. We know where Raw's at. There's no hype about it. We know Raw's on Monday every night on Netflix. We know that. They overhyped it so much, it was an underwhelming debut. And it's hard to do.
And there was so much happening on that debut episode to where you had so many people talking and did promos and you and I said this, the main event felt like it didn't have enough time to really get into gear.
Right.
This week, however, they gave the main event all the time in the
In
world.
a 2.5 hour Raw, they did so much better than Raw has done in a 3 hour in a 3 hour time frame in years. And it's one of those things that you love to watch it. It doesn't have, again, if I ever see a 40-minute Raw, I'm gonna have some issues. But because you have so many storylines going on, you can't just do a 40 unless you want to do one single match for 40 minutes. That's the only way you're doing a 40-minute Raw.
Yeah, kind of like a bottle episode.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a Family Guy episode. 2 Family Guy minute episodes without commercials. But this one felt like a true Raw. The time frame was short, yes, but it felt good that it was that short. Next week we could get a 4-hour Raw.
Yeah.
Next week we could get an hour Raw. We just don't know. We don't know what they're gonna do. But there's to end off my little rants that I've gone on. Clean up the transfer portal. Give us some actual storylines. Keep Kevin Owens and Cody in their own bubble. Keep the bloodline separate. Get Cody out of the bloodline stuff. You got me back. My stance will stay at 6 to 10 until probably after WrestleMania. It may jump up before then. But
And if you can give us little gems like the street fight on Raw, because I'm pretty sure that storyline's over, like you said, because at the end he grabbed him he took the straps down, grabbed him by the throat and said, "I am not my brother's keeper."
Yep.
And boom, choke slammed him.
Yep.
So it feels like that's over. If they can give us storylines like that culminate
Yep.
in an epic main event, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It covers over the final storylines. Those are over. You can put Damian back in the world title picture because he deserves it. He got screwed. Give him. I wouldn't do it at Mania.
A
Now,
rare instance where a superstar is now better off not having the world title, and despite the fact that he had a world title reign last year, I want to see him win it again.
yeah, I'm fine with Damian being a world champion. Do I think it'll happen this year? Probably not. Would it surprise me if they did it? No, because he deserves it. He deserves a rematch. He got a rematch, but he got screwed. He deserves a rematch. Um, there's one other thing I want to talk about real quick. I swear on my life, if you give Finn and JD McDonough one more title reign that lasts 400 days with one title match, I'm going to blow my brains out because that was the worst title reign I've seen in so long. Absolutely horrible. And those titles are ugly. I want the Raw title. I want the SmackDown titles. Give me the good-looking SmackDown tag titles compared to the crappy peanut. This reminds me of the Raw tag titles now here, people. That right there. I like this look when it was first brought out. This was the best look that I thought. Over time, when you give it a red strap and silver and the blue strap with silver, yuck. Keep it that way. We're fine.
I've even got a gold version of this one that his brother gave me, and oh man,
It's prettier than that one.
oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah, I love the Roman look. I know a lot of people crap on those championships, but this title belt.
I think all of us WWE fans give it crap because of the color, because it's
Maybe
a
so,
copper.
yeah.
If it wasn't copper and it was gold or silver, I'm not a fan of the silver, but I would have been okay with the silver. But the copper look it looked like a penny. It's like
That's fair. That's
and
fair.
you giving it gold. We're looking at a different topic, like that one. That is a beautiful championship. Will always be one of my favorite championships. We'll talk about our favorite championships in another episode, but
This was actually the first title belt that I purchased with my own earned money. That's
one of the $20 ones at Target or
Uh-huh.
Toys R Us.
Yep.
Dude, I used to get so many of those. I'm like, oh, I gotta go get the new one. I gotta get the new one. And be Christmas money, birthday money. That's all we did was just buy wrestling belts. But I need to restart my collection. I used to have a huge collection. Now I've got one.
We'll talk about that next week. That's our big discussion topic for next week is the championships.
And obviously, this episode was the starter episode. And then time won't always be this long.
Correct.
This is just our first episode. Give us a little bit of time to get used to this, and we'll get you guys some episodes that are 30 minutes. We're gonna do some breakdown on pay-per-views on 1 week. Like, oh, what do you think of the Rumble? Like, we're gonna do nothing but that. We're gonna do a predictions episode, once a month for the paper live events.
Typically, the podcasts should be running close to an hour and a half, but it'll be like Netflix, the Raw on Netflix runtime. Sometimes it'll be a little longer. Sometimes it'll be a little shorter. It just depends on what we've got for you this week.
Yep. Like this week, like we said, this week was the start off. We're super excited to do this. We talked about at the beginning. This was a topic we've talked about for years. This was just a one night. I was like, you know what we should do? He's like, what's that? I was like, we should do a podcast. We just couldn't get the timing right. But 2025 is the year for the KTE podcast, and I can't wait for us to bring Elijah onto the show. That's one of the other. That's the E to the KTE. I can't wait to get all three of us together for it. Like I said, here in a couple weeks, we'll do reactions to the Rumble. We may even do a live stream of said premium live event, Mania maybe, SummerSlam. We'll figure it all. We're still gonna figure all that out, but we hope you guys are gonna enjoy the ride with us. And obviously, our opinions don't have to hinder your guys' opinion. We love hearing your guys' opinions. So if you guys want to leave comments, likes, we would love for you guys to leave likes on this. And we would love to hear your guys' opinion on certain topics we talked about. If there's some stuff you disagree with us, let us know. We'll reenact in the comments and stuff. But dude, I'm super stoked for this. 2025, man, and it's gonna be a good one. I'm super stoked.
Yeah. Elijah and I even talked about, and I think the little inside baseball here. I think one of the first things that Elijah and I will be doing is we're going to be a watch along with WWECW.
Oh, okay.
Yep, starting with One Night Stand 2005. I've already got it in motion, and Elijah, he's someone who loves wrestling's history
Yep.
more so than he loves the present Wrestling Day products.
So there's going to be episodes you guys watch. They'll be doing the older episodes. Me and him will be doing reactions, and then Elijah will be joining us on certain episodes for watch-alongs of the live events and
pay-per-view discussions.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's starting to really get into the current product now. But yeah, him and I are going to be doing a lot of retro stuff to where we'll be discussing it if you'd like to watch along with us. So keep that in mind. One Night Stand 2005 is going to be our first thing, so if you want to watch along in the background. Before we send off, thoughts on the overall week of WWE that we just witnessed, from SmackDown to Raw. You said 6 out of 10 for SmackDown. 8 out of 10 for Raw.
I'm probably about 7.5. There's still a lot of cleanup. He brought up the drone stuff. Let's cut the drones. That stuff's unneeded. Like the aerial stuff outside's great with the drones, but inside stuff, let's cut that. But overall, yeah, 7.5 out of Raw for this week for me.
So you get 7 out of 10 for the whole week at large.
Average it out about 7. If we're gonna do the Dave Portnoy scale on Barstool Sports, he does the pizza reviews. He gives it like a 6.85, or he does like I'm going like a 7.7.
Okay.
For out of 10.
So you think the Raw was a 7.5 and SmackDown was a 6.10. You think together that makes it a 7.7?
Yep. I'm roughly averaging about 7.7 for this week. Now, my thoughts could change after Friday, after Monday. We'll see what happens Monday going after the weekend. But, yeah, like I said, man, I'm super stoked we finally get to do this. And I hope you guys enjoy the ride with us, and hope you guys love hearing about our history about it. And I'm super excited to hear your guys' opinions. Like I said, leave comments and everything. We'll look at them, and we're gonna get this ball rolling for the year. But 2025 and beyond, guys, we're doing it.
Yeah. So to let you know, every other week, when we can get available to you guys, we'll let you know what the scheduling is like, probably on Twitter and Instagram going forward. But Connor and I will be doing SmackDown and Raw recaps. Elijah and I will be doing this day in history watch-alongs. So look forward to those things, and then we'll have live reactions. We'll have pay-per-view predictions. I know the Rumble's here in Indianapolis, so we'll probably have some video footage for you guys on Instagram and for YouTube.
Which at the moment I'm gonna be at home. The Tyler and Elijah, I believe, are gonna head down there, so they'll have some video stuff. I'll have my predictions or my responses to reactions to it the Wednesday or whenever we do it after Rumble. But
yeah. So the big thing we want to bring it to you guys next week. Our big topic of discussion is going to be Raw and SmackDown recaps. But the question I want to pose to you and to Connor and to everyone listening: what are your favorite WWE championships? Let us know in the comments below, and let us know why that might be the case. Maybe you have a certain experience with it, like I do with the tag belts, or maybe you have fond memories of watching Dusty Rhodes fight for the NWA World Titles, or whatever it may be. Let us know your favorite championships along and comment below. Before we go, Connor, any last words you want to say, or maybe a sneak peek?
I think this week we're going to get a little bit more of a battle between Cody and Kevin. We're going to have them fight again because, we can't just not have people talk about things for a minute without beating the crap out of each other. I think Nia's going to beat the crap out of Tiffy because she's mad. Tag title situation's difficult, but we're going to see what's going on with, obviously DIY destroyed whoever to take the spot. But I think I want Motor City Machine Guns to win the tag titles back at some point soon. But yeah, I think we'll just have to see what goes on Friday, and then we'll obviously you'll have to see what happens Monday. I'll watch Monday, but we'll just have to go from there.
All right, and Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll see you next week on the KTE Wrestling Podcast.